Irina Garcia was born around 1984 and was the daughter of a woman named Ada Isabel Costa. Although little is known about Irina's childhood or family, it is publicly known that they were of Cuban descent. In her adult life, her mother became her top priority. Irina shared a very close bond with her mother, and they often spent time together. It was from her mother that Irina inherited her passion for cooking and her love for music and dancing. Those close to her described Irina as a beautiful woman, both inside and out. Wherever she went, she radiated kindness and warmth. In her mid-20s, Irina began a relationship with a man named Derek Rosa. The couple soon welcomed their first son, Derek Rosa. However, after some time, problems and differences arose, leading to their separation. Despite this, Jose made efforts to remain a part of his son's life. As for the young mother, she dedicated herself wholeheartedly to providing little Derek with all the love and care he needed. Irina proved to be more than capable of taking on such a responsibility. The two of them lived in an apartment complex in Hialeah, Florida, with the endearing presence of Isabel, always eager to spoil her grandson, whether by cooking his favorite meals or reading him stories. Irina made her living as a manicurist, and her social media accounts were filled with photos of her meticulous work. Her dedication earned her a loyal clientele, thanks to both her skills and the affection she received from her loved ones, including aunts, uncles, and many cousins. Derek was growing up to be a healthy, polite, and well-behaved child. For Irina, he was the perfect companion, and she took great pride in the relationship she had with her son. Despite her happiness, however, Irina confided in some family members that, as a single mother, she often longed for the companionship and support of a good partner, someone who would, of course, accept her son as their own. A few years later, just when she least expected it, Frank Ramos entered her life. She found him charming, and they soon began a relationship. Frank, like Irina, was of Cuban descent and worked as a truck driver. While there is little public information about his life before meeting Irina, things progressed so well between them that after the usual introductions, Isabel warmly welcomed her daughter's new suitor, as did the rest of the family. After romantic outings, flowers, family dinners featuring the traditional flavors of their homeland, and even a dance or two by the beach, Irina and Frank decided to solidify their relationship. Eventually, Frank moved in with Irina and Derek. Just as Irina had hoped, Frank embraced Derek as his own, and this didn't seem to be a difficult task at all. Thanks to Frank's gentle nature, getting along with the boy came naturally, both at home and at school. At home or at school, Derek continued to thrive. By this time, he was an honor student at his school, where he was known as a quiet, well-behaved boy who never caused trouble. In his free time, he loved playing video games, and his classmates saw him as a simple, home-loving kid. In late 2022 and early 2023, Irina received the most delightful news: she was pregnant. Not long after, she found out she was expecting a baby girl, and the excitement only grew. Frank shared in her joy, and as her pregnancy advanced, the happy couple celebrated with a photo shoot. The pictures, later shared on social media, showed them dressed in pink and smiling, portraying a happy family. In light of later tragic events, those photos began to circulate in the media, hauntingly capturing the joy they felt at the time. No one looking at those pictures could have imagined what was about to happen. By mid-2023, Derek had turned 13, and the atmosphere at home revolved largely around preparing for the baby's arrival. Between shopping for clothes and furniture to set up the nursery, neither Irina nor Frank paid much attention to the fact that they kept 2 firearms in the house, an oversight that would prove costly. The couple's daughter, whose name has been kept confidential, was born in early September 2023, filling the family with immense happiness. However, by the second week of September, Frank had to leave on one of his business trips, which meant he would be away from home for several days. On the night of Thursday, October 12, 2023, the security camera at the family's apartment captured a conversation between Derek and his mother. Derek, standing in the hallway, spoke to Irina in Spanish while she was inside the house, feeding the 14-day-old baby girl. The teenager complained that his mother had always told him not to run in the hallway. A white bag was visible in Irina's hands. Just a minute later, Derek returned inside, closing the door behind him. The next news we heard from the family came through Derek himself. The teenager stepped out of the apartment and, right by the door, contacted emergency services, requesting the police to come to his home. When the operator asked about the situation, Derek calmly confessed that he had taken his mother's life. He provided details about the weapon he used and assured the operator that he had not harmed his newborn sister. However, when it came to explaining his motive, Derek chose to remain silent. He answered the dispatcher's questions without issue but sounded somewhat disconnected. Shockingly, he admitted that he had contemplated using his stepfather's firearm to kill his baby sister and then take his own life. Yet during the process, he realized that wasn't what he wanted to do and decided against it. At the dispatcher's request, Derek stepped outside to confirm the house number. It was then that he noticed the police officers arriving. It was exactly 11:41 that night. From the other end of the line, the operator instructed him to remain where he was. Alerted by the movement and noise, a neighbor began recording the scene with his phone. The footage showed officers ordering Derek to step out of the apartment with his hands in the air. As the teenager apologized, one officer pinned him to the ground, while others entered the apartment, unaware of the horror awaiting inside. To their immense relief, the authorities found that the baby had not been harmed. Derek was arrested, and his baby sister was placed in the care of his grandmother, Isabel. Alone with the detective and still in his pajamas, Derek then proceeded to reveal chilling details about what had happened, a confession that was captured on video. "Where did you cut her first?" the detective asked. Here, Derek replied. Thanks to his confession and the subsequent investigation, a timeline of that fateful day began to emerge. A few hours after the footage captured by the house camera, Irina had put her daughter to sleep in her crib. Exhausted, she collapsed onto her bed, unaware of the tragedy that would soon unfold. As the clock struck 11:30 that night, Derek emerged from his room and headed to the kitchen. There, he grabbed a sharp utensil before making his way to the master bedroom. In the dim light, the baby monitor sat in the corner, silently watching as Derek, cursing his mother under his breath, approached her. In a matter of seconds, without giving her a chance to wake up or react, he attacked. After multiple thrusts, Irina lost all vital signs. It is presumed that shortly after, Derek contacted an online friend, a video game acquaintance known only by the pseudonym Sweden. He allegedly shared the gruesome details, even going as far as sending photos of the crime scene and of himself posing with blood-stained hands. When questioned about his actions, Derek remained mostly silent, much like he had during his earlier call with the 911 operator. After a brief pause, he asked whether he was required to answer that particular question, and then requested a lawyer. The officer assured him that in this case the interrogation would have to be paused and resumed later. Derek agreed, and the questioning was terminated. He was soon transferred to a juvenile detention center. As daylight broke, the shocking details of the case made national headlines. During a Friday press conference, officials informed the public that the suspect's identity would be kept confidential due to his age. They also mentioned that an investigation into the possible motive was already underway. Meanwhile, Derek's family fiercely defended him against the accusations. His grandmother, in particular, insisted that Derek was a good and noble young man. Speculation quickly spread, both in the media and online. Social media users shared posts suggesting, without evidence, that Frank, Derek's stepfather, might have been involved in the crime. Some even claimed that Frank was having an affair with another woman. However, authorities did not name any additional suspects in their investigation. For Derek's classmates, the news was incomprehensible. In an interview with the local press, one student expressed deep anger and confusion. Struggling to make sense of it all, she recalled moments they shared in class, like when Derek once told her that, no matter what, one should always love themselves. Meanwhile, Irina's neighbor and close friend launched a donation campaign to support Frank and his daughter. As investigations progressed, it was uncovered that Derek had recently conducted disturbing internet searches, specifically on how to take someone's life with a knife. The true identity of the recipient of the crime scene photos that Derek allegedly sent remained confidential. By the end of October 2023, Derek pleaded not guilty through his attorney, though he was not physically present in court for the hearing. In an attempt to shift suspicion toward Frank, the defense requested a search of the house and filed a motion to ensure that Derek would not be transferred to an adult prison under any circumstances. The prosecutor's office opposed the request, arguing that by that time Frank and other family members had already cleaned the property. Despite the defense's efforts, they proved unsuccessful. In early November 2023, Derek was formally charged with first-degree murder for what was described as a premeditated and malicious act. The judge subsequently ordered Derek's transfer to the Metro West Detention Center in Doral, an adult prison. Following the court decision, local media interviewed family members, including Derek's grandmother, Isabel, who once again praised her grandson's character. She insisted that Derek was still just a child and that no one who knew him well could believe he was capable of such evil. The court's ruling divided public opinion. While some demanded that Derek be tried as an adult, others advocated for him to be treated as a minor. An online petition was even started, calling for Derek to receive appropriate psychological help in the United States. Supporters continued to send letter after letter to the judge, urging him to reconsider his stance. Among them was a bus driver who knew Derek and described him as a young man with impeccable conduct. Shortly after, it was revealed that Derek had allegedly been kept in solitary confinement for 23 hours a day. One of his defense attorneys, Jose Baez, argued that a juvenile detention center was the safest option for Derek's mental well-being. He stressed that there was a reason why the juvenile court system existed. However, a decisive moment in the case occurred in mid-December 2023 during a new court hearing. Prosecutors presented a chilling video of Derek's statements, supported by the testimony of the detective who first interviewed him. For the first time, Derek was seen lowering his head and breaking down in the courtroom, visibly shocked. The situation grew even more grave when the prosecution displayed crime scene photographs, including images of the alleged weapon. One particularly disturbing photo showed Irina with her 14-day-old daughter, while another captured the exact moment of the attack on her. The Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office also shared the image that Derek had allegedly sent to his video game friend. Derek, sitting on the bench in a jail uniform with handcuffs on, had one of his lawyers by his side, who occasionally placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Faced with such damning evidence and aware of the gravity of the case, the judge stated he needed more time to consider the motion regarding Derek's possible transfer. The Christmas and New Year's holidays were somber for Irina's loved ones, filled with grief instead of the usual festivities. Local media reported that Derek remained under constant surveillance in his isolation, as he was considered a high-profile prisoner. It was also reported that Derek was not allowed to interact with other inmates, and his cell had only one window with no clear view of the outside. Meanwhile, online rumors about the possible involvement of his stepfather in the crime gained traction, fueling speculation. Various television programs focused on the case, with experts weighing in. Many explained that if Derek were to be tried as an adult, the prosecutor would aim to prove the severity of the crime. The prosecution, it was evident that a case involving such violence should not remain in juvenile court, where the penalties are balanced to rehabilitation. The judicial process resumed on Thursday, February 15, 2024. Derek's defense, now led by renowned criminal attorney Albert Queirantes, requested that the judge order the release of all evidence, including witness reports which they claimed had not been made available. Queirantes, founder of a well-known law firm, emphasized that without this evidence, it was impossible to properly prepare for the trial. The prosecutors, however, stated that they were fully prepared to proceed. At the end of the day, the judge ruled that Derek would remain in the Metro West Detention Center. Just days later, the judge also ordered the prosecution to hand over all unredacted documents and scheduled a new hearing for mid-April 2024. Shortly afterward, Derek's family made an emotional appeal in juvenile court, requesting that he serve his sentence at home. With a voice cracking with emotion, Derek's father, Jose, pleaded for clemency, stating that they wanted a second chance to guide him. He expressed that their love for Derek was unwavering and that they would always support him, no matter the circumstances. The defense presented the judge with 26 letters written by family members and close friends, many of whom had traveled from various parts of the country. These supporters filled the courtroom, wearing T-shirts with messages urging to save Derek. Despite the emotional pleas and the tears of Isabel and Jose, the judge ruled that Derek would be tried as an adult. To understand this decision, it's important to clarify that in Miami, depending on the severity of the crime, there are two possible sentences: the death penalty, in cases involving premeditation and malice aforethought, or life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The latter is typically applied when the jury fails to reach a consensus on the death penalty. In April 2024, a new hearing took place. During this session, the prosecution suggested that some evidence, including Derek's clothing and the weapon used, was still being analyzed by forensic experts. As for Derek's cell phone, it was confirmed to have been returned by the Secret Service, although 3 tablets and an Xbox remained in police custody. When questioned by the judge as to why these devices had not yet been returned, the prosecution explained that one of the tablets belonged to Miami County Public Schools. In the months that followed, several hearings were postponed, though no reasons for the delays were made public. Derek remains in the same detention center. Authorities note that at 16 he is one of the youngest inmates, with most others ranging from 16 to 17 years old. His isolation continues, with no interactions allowed with other prisoners. However, he does receive educational classes 3 to 4 times a week for about 2 hours and engages in sports activities with the security staff. And that concludes today's video on this shocking case, which continues to stir discussions on social media. We wanted to bring you all the latest updates to keep you informed. We will definitely follow up on this case to see what happens with this teenager and everything surrounding his situation. If you found this video informative, please remember to like it and subscribe if you haven't already. I post updates 3 to 4 times a week. And if you're subscribed, you'll receive a notification every time I upload a new video. Until next time, take care.